The Chernobyl nuclear power plant, located near the city of Pripyat in Soviet Ukraine, stood as a symbol of progress and technological prowess. It was a marvel of engineering, representing the Soviet Union's ambition to harness the power of the atom for peaceful purposes. Constructed in the 1970s and 1980s, the plant housed 4 RBMK-1000 nuclear reactors. These reactors were designed to produce both electricity and plutonium, showcasing the dual-use nature of nuclear technology. These reactors, known for their high power output, were a source of pride for the Soviet Union. They were seen as a testament to Soviet scientific and engineering capabilities, a clear demonstration of the nation's technological advancements. Chernobyl was tasked with supplying electricity to a significant portion of the region, powering homes and industries. The plant's output was crucial for the economic development of the area, providing energy for factories, schools, and hospitals. Little did anyone know that this symbol of progress would soon transform into a stark warning about the devastating potential of unchecked technological ambition. The plant, once a beacon of hope, would become synonymous with disaster and tragedy. The plant was considered a shining example of Soviet engineering. It was equipped with state-of-the-art technology and staffed by highly trained personnel, all working towards a common goal of energy independence and scientific achievement. It employed thousands of workers, many of whom resided in the nearby purpose-built city of Pripyat. This city was a model of Soviet urban planning, designed to provide a comfortable and modern lifestyle for its inhabitants. This Atomgrad, or atomic city, was designed to provide a high standard of living for the plant's personnel and their families. It featured schools, hospitals, cultural centers, and recreational facilities, all aimed at fostering a sense of community and well-being. Life in Pripyat was vibrant, with a strong sense of community and optimism for the future. The residents enjoyed a range of amenities and activities, from sports and arts to social gatherings and festivals. The Chernobyl disaster serves as a stark reminder of the immense responsibility that comes with harnessing the power of the atom. The catastrophic events that unfolded highlighted the potential dangers of nuclear energy when safety measures are not rigorously enforced. It underscores the importance of rigorous safety protocols, transparent communication, and a culture of accountability within the nuclear industry. The lessons learned from Chernobyl have led to significant changes in how nuclear power plants are operated and regulated worldwide. The events of April 26, 1986, forever changed our understanding of nuclear energy's potential consequences. The explosion at reactor number 4 released a massive amount of radioactive material into the atmosphere, affecting millions of people and the environment. The disaster also exposed the shortcomings of the Soviet system. The lack of transparency, bureaucratic inefficiencies, and the culture of secrecy all contributed to the severity of the incident and the delayed response. The government's initial secrecy and attempts to downplay the incident eroded public trust and hampered the international response. The delayed evacuation and misinformation led to unnecessary exposure to radiation for many residents. The world watched in horror as the true extent of the disaster unfolded, revealing the human cost of technological failure and government secrecy. The Chernobyl disaster remains a poignant reminder of the need for vigilance, transparency, and responsibility in the pursuit of technological advancement. At the heart of the Chernobyl disaster lay the RBMK-1000 reactor, a Soviet-designed graphite-moderated nuclear reactor. This reactor was a product of the Soviet Union's ambitious nuclear energy program aimed at providing vast amounts of power to the nation. While powerful, the RBMK-1000 possessed inherent design flaws that made it inherently unstable. These flaws were not just minor issues, but fundamental problems that compromised the reactor's safety. One critical flaw was its positive void coefficient. This technical term refers to the reactor's tendency to increase its reactivity as the coolant water turned into steam. In simpler terms, this meant that as the reactor heated up, the rate of nuclear reactions could increase uncontrollably, leading to a runaway chain reaction. This runaway reaction could escalate rapidly, making it extremely difficult to control the reactor once it started overheating. Another significant flaw was the lack of a robust containment structure. This was a critical oversight in the design of the RBMK-1000. Unlike most Western reactors, which are housed within thick concrete domes designed to contain radiation in the event of an accident, the RBMK-1000 had a less substantial containment structure. This meant that in the event of an explosion, there was nothing to prevent the release of radioactive materials into the environment. This design choice, made to reduce construction costs, proved catastrophic when the reactor exploded. The explosion released a massive amount of radioactive material into the atmosphere, affecting not just the immediate area but also large parts of Europe. The reactor's control rods, responsible for slowing down the nuclear chain reaction, also played a role in the disaster. These rods were supposed to be a safety feature, but their design was flawed. These rods were tipped with graphite, which ironically accelerated nuclear reactions upon initial insertion. This counterintuitive design meant that in an emergency, the very mechanism meant to shut down the reactor could actually make the situation worse. This design flaw meant that during an emergency shutdown, the control rods could initially increase reactor power instead of decreasing it, as intended. This was a critical failure point during the Chernobyl disaster. The combination of these design flaws, coupled with a series of human errors and a disregard for safety protocols, created a perfect storm for disaster at Chernobyl. Operators were not fully aware of the reactor's dangerous characteristics, and safety protocols were often ignored or bypassed. The RBMK-1000 reactor, with its inherent instability and lack of adequate safety features, became a ticking time bomb, waiting for the right conditions to unleash its destructive power. The disaster at Chernobyl was a tragic reminder of the potential dangers of nuclear power when safety is compromised. On April 25, 1986, a routine safety test at Chernobyl's Unit 4 reactor went tragically wrong, setting in motion a chain of events that would culminate in the world's worst nuclear disaster. The test, which was supposed to be a simple check, turned into a nightmare that no one could have anticipated. The test aimed to assess the reactor's ability to power emergency systems in the event of a power outage. This was a critical procedure designed to ensure that the reactor could safely shut down even if external power sources failed. However, a combination of operator error, design flaws, and a disregard for safety protocols turned this routine procedure into a catastrophe. The operators, following flawed instructions, made a series of critical mistakes. The test required operators to reduce reactor power to extremely low levels. This was a delicate operation, as maintaining stability at such low power levels was inherently risky. This maneuver, however, brought the reactor into an unstable operating condition, exacerbated by the RBMK-1000's positive void coefficient. This characteristic made the reactor more reactive as steam bubbles formed in the coolant. As the reactor's power output dwindled, operators disabled several safety systems, further increasing the risk of an uncontrolled chain reaction. These safety systems were designed to prevent exactly the kind of disaster that was now unfolding. As the test progressed, a series of miscommunications and misunderstandings compounded the situation. The operators were not fully aware of the reactor's unstable state and continued to follow the test procedure. Operators, working under pressure and fatigued from extended shifts, struggled to control the increasingly unstable reactor. Their exhaustion impaired their judgment and reaction times, making it even harder to manage the crisis. The reactor's power output fluctuated wildly as alarms sounded, signaling a critical situation. The control room was filled with the sounds of warning sirens and flashing lights, creating a chaotic and stressful environment. By 1:23 a.m. on April 26th, the situation had spiraled out of control. The operators were now in a race against time to prevent a full-scale disaster. The reactor's power surged rapidly, exceeding its design limits. This sudden increase in power was catastrophic, as the reactor was not designed to handle such extreme conditions. Operators desperately tried to activate the emergency shutdown system, but the reactor's design flaws, particularly the graphite-tipped control rods, backfired, accelerating the chain reaction instead of halting it. The very systems meant to protect the reactor now contributed to its destruction, sealing the fate of Chernobyl Unit 4. At 1:23:45 a.m. on April 26, 1986, the unthinkable happened. The Chernobyl Unit 4 reactor, pushed beyond its limits, experienced a catastrophic power surge. A massive explosion ripped through the reactor building, instantly killing 2 operators and releasing a plume of radioactive material into the night sky. The force of the explosion was so powerful that it blew the reactor's 1,000-ton upper plate off its moorings, exposing the reactor core to the open air. The explosion ignited a raging fire that burned for days, spewing radioactive isotopes into the atmosphere. The plume of radioactive material carried by winds spread across vast distances, contaminating parts of Ukraine, Belarus, Russia, and reaching as far as Western Europe and Scandinavia. The initial explosion and subsequent fire released a deadly cocktail of radioactive isotopes, including iodine 131, cesium-137, and strontium-90. These isotopes, with varying half-lives, posed both immediate and long-term health risks to humans and the environment. The explosion at Chernobyl was not a single event, but rather a cascade of failures. It was the culmination of design flaws, human error, and a disregard for safety protocols. The disaster exposed the inherent risks associated with nuclear power, particularly when combined with inadequate safety measures and a culture of secrecy.